What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Squeeze the Juice. It is, I guess, Pro Bowl week, which is disgusting now. It's very gross. No one enjoys the Pro Bowl anymore. It went from the beautiful times in Hawaii to Florida, moment in Vegas, and now it's back to Florida, and it's just not the same as it was years ago. But we're not even going to talk about it. I just thought I'd reference it. Very interesting and unfortunate weekend with the NFC and AFC championship games. First, we got the AFC championship game. Mahomes-Lamar, right? Mahomes-Lamar, and, MVP Lamar, right? He's supposed to be, standing on his business. He's Mahomes on the road, second road playoff game ever. Everyone's like, it's the time. The Ravens are complete. He's going to show up. And shout out to Evan for the statement, right? You stated how he was talking like he was nervous.
Yeah.
He was already letting Mahomes in his head.
Absolutely. He was. And that was the way that it looked on the field. Looked completely out of sorts, not like the Baltimore team we've seen for a majority of the season. And while the defense, I think, played really well, you can't win playoff games scoring 10 points. It's just not gonna go in your favor if you're not getting at least 20 on this, this Chiefs team.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen time and time again this offense for Kansas City not produce the same way they've been producing, but that defense has stepped up. They've made plays, and I do think there's something psychological about Mahomes and this Chiefs team where AFC teams, for whatever reason, just cannot get over the hump. And the only team that has in the past several years has been Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And without them in the postseason, no one really has honestly, the mental strength, in my opinion, to get over this Chiefs hump. And it's reminded me a lot like the Patriots, where
they're just there every year.
It's just they're always there, and you can never count them out because they have this aura about them where they might not have the best team on paper, but when you go toe-to-toe with them for 60 minutes, you're not going to get over the psychological mountain that they possess. And it's just one of those weird things. It's rare in the NFL. I mean, we saw it with Tom Brady and the Patriots. I think we're seeing it with Mahomes and the Chiefs. We might have a dynasty on our hands, similar to what we saw in New England. And I don't love to admit it, but when you beat the Bills and you beat the Ravens in the way in which they did, and it wasn't pretty, it wasn't sexy, it was just outlasting the opponent for 60 minutes. It's reminiscent of a lot of Patriot teams where they weren't the best. They didn't have the most talent, but they found a way to win. And they find themselves in, yet again, another Super Bowl.
It's sad to see. It's sad to see because,
we called it, though. We predicted it. So
yeah,
it was like...
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
We said we think the Chiefs are probably going to win this game.
Because it's unfortunate, it's how the Patriots, like you said, the Patriots used to be. It's the Chiefs, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can say about it until you put your foot in the ground and put it out, show it. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Until it is end of game and he is defeated, it's not over. It'll never be over. And, I've not been a fan of Mahomes since he started being all that, But, and I'm respecting him a lot more now. I don't, dislike him as much. It's more so because I don't want him to ever be a threat to Brady, but I don't think he will be. Because what can you say? Even if he, matched his Super Bowls, he lost to Brady.
Yeah.
In the postseason. And a Super Bowl.
Never beat Brady in the postseason.
Yeah.
Actually.
So it's and you're comparing a young Mahomes, right, to 50-year-old Brady, and he's still beating you. Then I feel like I feel like there's honestly no discussion anymore. I think that's another reason I can just be all right, Mahomes is.
I'm not really worried about Mahomes surpassing Tom, even as a Patriots supporter. I'm just kind of.
You want to see somebody else?
I'm just kind of it's not. I'm just kind of irritated with the whole thing. Like Mahomes, as much as I respect his game and his talent and his ability to persevere, there's just something about him where it's like, all right, you lost to the Bills, and you go up to Josh Allen and say, like, essentially, you guys didn't deserve that. Like he was saying that was a bad call, blame it on the refs. Like not even being able to have the decency to say to Josh Allen, like, "Hey, good game. We'll see you soon. See you in the postseason."
So scum move.
So it's like when he loses, it's everyone else's fault. When he wins,
I am the guy.
Like, yeah. So it's just like I think he poses as a really humble guy and someone with a lot of humility, but at the same time, when I look at him on the field, it's like we all hate losing, but you don't need to, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's not the time to state it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that rubs me the wrong way with Mahomes sometimes.
Mahomes always gets the better end of everything, so it's like
Travis Kelce too. It's like this whole charade, and he, what Travis Kelce said to the Bills and to Josh Allen after the game. He was like, "It's insane." It's like I think he said something like, "I don't even know how you guys got here," and it's like, dude, like have some respect. Like
it's the NFL, dude.
The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. They should have won that game.
Yeah,
and they just come up short, and that's what you have to say to him. Like, no, Josh Allen. And the Bills and the Ravens and Lamar, like there's something there that they have to get over to surpass the Chiefs. I think they will eventually, but I think it just comes with time and it comes with realizing like we can do this. I still feel like they are telling themselves we can't. And that is where you need to just kind of do some deep reflection and deep thinking and just really like hone in on what you need to do, like mentally. And I think it's all that. I think it's every team in the AFC. I think is as good as the Chiefs are, if not better. But mentally, the Chiefs are just a bit stronger, and that's where they have the edge. The only team, like we said, Cincinnati, because Joe Burrow, he doesn't really care about all that.
No, he's like that.
But but the thing is, Joe Burrow still, he's only been to one AFC, or he's only won one AFC championship game so far. They lost last year in the AFC title game. So it's not like Joe Burrow is, the absolute kryptonite either. But I think psychologically he is not as scared of the Chiefs as some of the other quarterbacks in the AFC. And I really just feel like that's where the difference is right now.
Can't disagree. I'm already like hyped for like that part next season, right? I'm waiting for my boy Burrow to be back and just swing, right? Forget everybody, load the squad, and just start swinging on everyone in the AFC.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the offseason with T. Higgins.
That's huge.
Offensive line, Joe Mixon as well. So
yeah,
a lot of questions in Cincinnati. Do you want to move to the NFC title game? I mean, it was a heartbreaker for us.
I know no one wants to, but unfortunately, yes. Lions head to the Bay against the Niners, and what a performance in the first half.
It was a great game.
It was a great game. It's looking back on it, in the season, it's hard to be mad at all. I know there were some moments, right, that just were like, what are you doing? What's happening here?
I'm definitely upset. I still haven't gotten over it.
I think I'm about there. I think I mentally prepared myself because I'm like, this could go down, and I just want to be okay with what's going on. But it was still tough in the moment.
I don't know, just when we're up 17 at the end of the first half, and you're feeling like this could be a reality, it's just a gut punch when they score 27 straight. You're down 10 with 3 minutes to go, and you're like,
what happened?
We were right there, and we just made so many critical mistakes. You had a couple of Josh Reynolds drops, the big one on fourth down that would have extended the drive, likely scoring, whether it be 3 or 6. You're likely scoring if he gets that. You have the second drop by him on a critical third down when you needed to have a response. He drops it, and he was going to go for about 20, 25 yards, too. It was going to be a big play. Then you have the Jahmyr Gibbs fumble, which set up an immediate scoring opportunity for San Fran. And then you have the Kindle Vildor drop interception that goes right into Ayuk's hands. One of those freaky, fluky plays. Remind me a lot of the let me get the name right. In the Super Bowl, Seahawks, Patriots, I believe it was Jermaine Kearse.
Yeah, how it just bounced off
It just
one guy
bounced
and
off
it
one
came
guy
to
and
him.
came right into his hands. It's like, of course. It was just a series of unfortunate events in the second half that led to the Lions' demise. And I know there was a lot of talk on sports radio, sports TV about the decision making by Dan Campbell. I don't disagree with the fourth down decisions. It's about execution for me. And the first one absolutely should have been made. That one is a no-brainer. And I don't look. Would I have kicked the field goal? Yes, because I probably would have been a little scared. But Dan Campbell doesn't play scared. He plays full throttle, and that's who he is. And I'm okay with him being that kind of guy because it's won us games. And so, and if you look at it, how about the wild card weekend? The decision to go for it on fourth down, which led to the Sam Laporta touchdown. If you kick 3, you don't win that game. The math doesn't add up. So it's those kinds of decisions that separate Dan Campbell from a lot of other coaches. And while it can lead to success, like we've seen in the past, it can also, lead to ruin. And unfortunately, when your players don't execute, even if you have the right game or if you have the right call, the right game plan, the right strategy, if you don't execute, it's not going to get done. So it was unfortunate, heartbreaking, and Brock Purdy and the San Francisco team, which in my opinion have played 2 very questionable games, probably should have lost both, find themselves in the Super Bowl with a chance to win, the Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Are they going to actually show up, or is Mahomes just like, he's going to look across the field and he's like, there's a lot of talk over there, but are these guys even good? And he could just walk over them. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout, but like mentality again, right? The Niners, they want the vengeance from a couple years ago. It's also a different team. And also, I feel like they're kind of more cocky.
San Francisco?
In a way. The way they walk around sometimes, I feel like it's just like, I don't know.
Maybe it's just their year. I mean, they're getting every bounce, every fortune. Maybe it's just their year. We'll obviously get into the game itself next week.
See?
Because I still need to process my emotions and thoughts. Considering just giving up sports in general. Might just be it for me. I might just retire.
I'm just going to walk away from everything.
I'm going to walk away from the game. But, it was one of those heartbreaking moments. But I think for Lions fans out there, and there was some good news this week. We get Ben Johnson back, the OC. Aaron Glenn is going to stay too with the news of Dan Quinn going to Washington. So
I did not hear about that. Was that the release this morning?
That was released this morning. So
okay, the boys are back.
So it's essentially
we hired a new D-line coach this morning.
Okay, so obviously it's essentially the same group of guys coming back. No one really is up for a contract extension. Well, there's guys up for a contract extension, but no one's contract is expiring for the most part. So there's a lot of optimism.
Time to make moves.
I think with a loss like this, it's going to sit on our brains for a long time, and it's going to hurt for a long time. But what can heal the pain is
rising from the ashes.
Exactly. Is coming out next season with the same intensity, the same motivation, the same hunger, and the same drive.
A deeper chip on your shoulder.
To get back to where you were, putting yourself in another position to play for a Super Bowl. And now I think that's the bar. They have to get to the NFC title game next year. They have to. Otherwise, I think the season's a failure. You could win 13, 14 games. You can win a playoff game or 2. But if you don't get back to the NFC title game with the expectation that you're going to win, I think the season's a failure. Obviously, we got a long time from now. It's going to be a whole year before we get to that moment again. But I think that's where the expectation is now. And I think this season, organizationally, I'm not sure if they thought Super Bowl. Now, I think that's all they're thinking about. And I think that is kind of what can separate you in between a season or 2. Like Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, I don't think they're believing Super Bowl. Kind of like I don't think the Lions really believed in the Super Bowl. I think that was the ultimate goal. And when you're on the doorstep, you're like, we might be able to do this. But there was something to it where they were playing with a little bit of house money. They didn't have that expectation going, at least maybe internally they might have, but I don't think the world thought Lions as a Super Bowl team. Now everyone thinks of them as that, and now it's on them to go out and execute and get it done. That's the expectation going forward. That was my belief internally. That's why I wasn't satisfied with a couple of playoff wins, because I was getting a little greedy, and I was like, no, I expected to be here. Like, I expected to beat Dallas if that was the team. I expected to go into Dallas and beat them. I expected to go into San Fran and beat them. That's why we picked Lions +7. And we both said, I think the Lions can do this. It sucks, but it was our first taste of playoff football, at least successful playoff football.
It was great.
It was awesome.
It didn't feel real until it was over. Like, right? You were like kind of just like, we're
it was
still
such
going.
a sobering moment. Like, it was like you just got hit with just tons of like cold water.
A reality check.
Yeah.
You're just standing there and then trance and then just, yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, it was an unfortunate, but
no, it still hurts. It's gonna hurt for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more. I feel like I'm in reality, I'm past it. But if I'm ever start talking with someone about it, then I'm kind of like I've flashback.
I woke up that next day and I felt like I
agree. I was down on that Monday, and I didn't expect to be. I thought I was like I said to you, I was prepared for like the worst, and I wasn't.
I felt like I just had,
but I know you,
like the worst day ever. Like I it felt like the world was ending. Like everything was wrong. Everything was pain. It really felt like, I'm not kidding, 2013 Big Papi Grand Slam over the wall with Torrey Hunter flipping. Like that was equal moment for me. It brought me back to like I had that like
a 10-year flashback.
A 10-year flashback where I'm just like
I was talking to my dad about it when I got home.
It was devastating. That's the only other moment where I felt that amount of pain, where I was like even the Patriots losing the Super Bowl, it comes super close.
Oh yeah,
they come super close.
Up
but
there.
When it's your hometown team, and it's like it's over. Like that was the moment for me. It was just, it's devastating.
Yeah, those Patriot Giant losses are probably 3 and 4 for me on my list.
The Eagles loss didn't hurt as bad.
I agree. It just sucked. You're like, man.
I think. Well, my issue was when they lost to the Eagles, and we can move on after this. But when they lost to the Eagles, I was like, we're going to be back here next year, and then we were. We beat the Rams. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like,
it was like the Mahomes talk, right? Oh, we'll be back next year.
Yeah, cool. I fully believed. I was like, it sucks that we lost, but I know we'll be back. Like I'm not worried. I
mean, that would have been, if we would have won that potentially was a 3-peat.
Yeah.
And a Super Bowl.
They probably should have won that game. I mean, when you score 33 points, you should win every game. But the defense, Matt Patricia, shout out to you, let him down, and then he became our head coach.
Yep, and then he's been a failure since. So
yeah,
shout out to him.
But we were both 2-0, 55, 47, and 5 overall for me. Justin 50, 49, and 5 overall.
Riding on the Super Bowl, positive season.
Positive season rides on the Super Bowl. I've locked it in now. Nice little bounce back, I guess, at 2-0. Get me back up 8 overall on the season. And I mean, we're on to the Super Bowl, but let's first kick it back to our preseason picks here for the divisions. We did talk Super Bowl. We didn't make official picks, but I think we talked about the odds and kind of where we were leaning. I said Eagles, Lions. I was pretty confident in the Lions actually getting to the Super Bowl in the preseason. I might have been one of the few. Justin, I know you were. I mean, we were both big on the Bengals.
Yeah,
I thought we were on the Bengals. That was unfortunate. But we can get into the division winners because, well, we didn't really hit a ton of these.
They fell and they fell and they fell. That would have.
Let's talk AFC East first, since it's first up here. You had the Jets at plus 250, and that ended 4 plays into the season.
Yep.
And then I had the Fins at plus 290, looking for a little bit of value, and it was there all the way until the end.
It was there in the choke job.
They choked so hard in typical Dolphins fashion. AFC North, we said it's probably going to come down to one of these two teams, right? Bengals and Ravens. But for the value play, the Browns at plus 400 almost hit 2.
It did.
Even with Joe Flacco and Dorian Thompson-Robinson and P.J. Walker, they had all these guys playing quarterback. Deshaun Watson, of course. But we were close with that one. I think, obviously they didn't win, but I love the value play there. This one,
Devastation.
we missed out big time. Texans at plus 1,000 to win the AFC South, and they did it. And we were on the Jags minus 155. That is maybe our worst pick.
It probably would have been more logical for us to take the Colts plus 550. I'm surprised we didn't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
we thought it was going to be a walk.
They both had rookie QBs. We're thinking it's going to take them some time, right? But they both came out swinging. A-Rich, even him going down, he looked great in the first few games that he played. And then Gardner Minshew just kind of carried the ship. Like, he led it perfectly.
We thought this year especially, and probably the next 2, maybe 3 years, the Jags are just going to walk this division, and it is now just the Titans at the bottom going forward.
Yeah, I would agree. AFC West, Chiefs, obviously. I mean, we said it's probably going to be Kansas City. I didn't love the Chargers. I didn't love the Broncos.
The Raiders could have been interesting, though.
The Raiders could have been interesting. I think they had maybe one of the more uplifting years out of all the teams in the NFL. I think you can be very confident going forward in Antonio Pierce and that new regime. NFC East. This is the division that never repeats champions, and unfortunately we fell into the trap because the Cowboys won the NFC East.
But it was also right there, right? The Eagles just crumbled.
Yeah.
Beyond belief.
You're right. Here we were on the Lions plus 145. That hit. That was nice. I mean, really, we said it could come down to, like, don't sleep on Green Bay. I remember I said that.
I also
Vikings. Said don't sleep on Chicago. I was never really on the Vikings, but I said these two teams can make some noise in Green Bay. They looked great towards the end of the year. NFC South. This was where, again, we just completely messed up because the Bucs at plus 750. Look at this. Bucs, Texans plus 1,000, Bucs plus 750. That would have been insane value.
We didn't know, man.
Going forward, though, we need to be able to
have awareness of, like, you just don't sleep on that team. I don't know, man. And the thing is, I said some things about the Panthers, and I was definitely wrong. But, I mean, the Saints and Falcons were, sitting right there with all three of them were potentially to take the Bucs out of the spot, but the Bucs just stood strong.
Yeah, and Atlanta definitely with that QB.
I agree. Atlanta probably would have cashed. Atlanta would have cashed if they had the right
Baker
coach.
if they signed Baker Mayfield. He was a free agent. They could have gotten him.
Honestly, that would have been a crazy team in Atlanta then.
He was free for the taking.
But would Arthur Smith still screw it up?
Maybe.
Probably, but not as much, right?
But the thing is, they didn't really have a capable QB, and Baker is more than capable.
But they didn't have a capable coach either. And he's gone now. And I'm sorry, Drew, that he's on the Steelers.
And then our last teams that we picked were the Niners, obviously, with the NFC West.
Rams plus 1,000.
Rams plus 1,000, though. That was not a bad play. Cardinals, they were the lowest odds. But they didn't even have the worst season.
I'm intrigued to see the Cardinals next year, what they're going to do, especially with their potential draft pick they could be getting.
Yeah, I mean, they have the number 4 overall pick. Obviously,
could be Marv.
It could be Marv. It could be Neighbors. We're not really sure if the top 3 go QB. Well, Marvin just slips right into your lap at 4. And
you can't be mad at Neighbors either. That's the thing. Like, you'd love Marvin, right, with Kyler, but, like, Neighbors still,
And they could go with another offensive tackle. You bookend Paris Johnson Jr. and Olu Fashanu. That would be insane. I mean, you'd have the 2 top tackles in back-to-back drafts. I mean,
they don't have Fashanu as the top tackle. Most people have Joe Alt as the tackle
from Notre Dame. Yeah, so I mean, hey, whatever one you want, you can go. You go all.
You have the world's your oyster.
You have the choice. So, but you could do that, right? If you want to protect Kyler, I know they're invested in Kyler. I never bought into the theory, even if they had the number 1 pick, I never bought into the theory that they were going to go QB. I think that was way too clickbaity. I always believed that they were going to stick to Kyler no matter what, and he has embraced the leadership role. In Arizona,
the way the season ended. I like this. I'm like this version of Kyler Murray.
I do too, and I think Jonathan Gannon, good coach. I know he was a little corny, a little cheesy, but I think he's got a good. I think he's actually got a good team.
If he
going
has the
forward.
right OC, right, they have a decent offense, and if he can control that defense well as the head coach,
Yeah, they just need somebody on the outside. I think it absolutely will be one of the 2 wide receivers. I think they get Kyler his version of
Larry,
Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson.
the new Larry
The new
Fitzgerald of Arizona.
I think it will be Marvin. I think Marvin will end up being a Cardinal, but
Unless something crazy happens.
because I do feel like as we're kind of unraveling it here, it's going to be a combination of Caleb, Daniels, and May going 1, 2, 3, and then Marvin's off the board at 4. But we'll see. We have our Patriots theory. I would love to see them trade for Fields and take Marvin at 3. That's my personal preference. I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but that's just what I would do.
That'll be
'cause
interesting.
I think it would be awesome.
I'm interested to see what happens with Fields.
Yeah, and we'll have a ton of draft talk coming up. But I mean, we got the combine in a little over a month here, and then it's the drafts
And
in
then
the
mock draft, and
Drafts
then
in the D,
actual
man.
draft.
D.
Yeah,
So we'll be there.
just live on like the top of tin roof. We're just like,
Hey, why not? Honestly, but no, it's obviously we had the Super Bowl and stuff, but for 30 other teams, it's free agent season, it's draft season. Can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. Well, season's almost out. Season's almost over. We'll get into Super Bowl talk next week and whatnot. But it is year number 2. The QB guru is back.
I am back.
It is going to be Evan's tier list that we're about to jump into. All levels of every NFL quarterback of this season. Before we get into it, I will be stating my personal just top 5 QBs right now on the season before Evan breaks everybody down. So I guess we'll jump right into this.
Let's do it.
So breaking it down, I kind of had an idea of my guys on the season for top 5. Because you're talking about top 5 based on this season, also relating to the future, right? So I had to look back to last year, because last year I think I had, within my top 5, I had Mahomes, I think I had Burrow, I think I had, not in this order, and then I think I had Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and I think Jalen Hurts. I think those guys were all in my top 5. So the top 5 changed up a bit. So I'm going to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5.
Let's go 5 to 1.
5 to 1. So 5 was my trickiest because, I was trying to think, who do I believe in right now in the future and just the upside? Look, I love Trevor Lawrence. He's part of my dynasty, right? I think he's going to be good moving forward. But I still have more belief, for number 5, in Justin Herbert. I think he's got to have a new coach this year. I think he's going to have a new OC. I think he's going to have a more stable environment around him for the future. I think his just talent is right there, and just he can do so many things. And maybe he gets a newer run game. I know there's been trouble with Eckler. It's unfortunate that they blew that pick with QJ because they could have had a Zay Flowers, which I think would have fit way better with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. But I believe in Justin Herbert in the future. I think he's such a talented quarterback, and there's so much potential just waiting there. It's just he hasn't had the right environments for him yet. I know you could say he does have the same guys. There's talent on defense and everything, but I think leadership is key for him.
Yeah, and I think Harbaugh is going to do an outstanding job with Herbert. I mean, 5, I want to see who's at 4, 3, 2, 1, because I do think Herbert is one of those guys, but I want to hear what you have to say for who's above him, in your opinion.
So, very interesting. This is going to be a very interesting take, and Evan might be a little shocked with it, based on my opinions and theories and everything, but in this moment, at number 4, I'm taking C.J. Stroud.
Wow, okay. Go on, explain.
So, talk about a rookie season, right? I know he was like he was a good college quarterback, right? There was a lot of concerns, with him over the years against Michigan, right? And the absolute talent he had around him. And he still played amazing, right? He was still an amazing quarterback. He was a number 2 overall pick. Arguably should have been number 1, right?
Yeah.
And we discussed that a lot. The maturity level he plays with, the clean, the pocket presence, the clean passing ability. He's a very mobile quarterback when he needs to be. I mean, his accuracy, he's primed and he's in the right spot for him, right? You know, sometimes we talk about environments. Certain quarterbacks go to the wrong situation, and it's very unfortunate because they have the talent, but it just doesn't work out, you know?
Yeah.
And Stroud is in the great spot for him. He's got a young, great coach, D'Amico Ryans, for him. He's got a revitalized organization moving forward, going with him and behind him, and I think it's the sky's the limit for him, honestly.
Go on.
Are you shocked at that one?
No, go on.
All right, number 3. Where's my number 3? Oh, okay, number 3. This man, he always has something going on with him. He plays really well each year. Yes, there can be a lot of interceptions, but he's so good in the run. He's so good at the pass. He's got the deep arm, the deep ball. It's just like, when is it going to be his year? And that is Josh Allen.
Yep.
Josh Allen, I think, he's still such a good quarterback. He has, you know, he goes through this year after year, right? It's just, you talked about it earlier in the show, the Mahomes hurdle. Like, can people just get over it?
There's something about it.
And they should have.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephon Diggs. You're crying last year after leaving the field, right? You had moments to take this game that Josh Allen gave you.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's tough, right? It's like, where do they go, you know, with Josh Allen from here? You know, he can still win you a Super Bowl. He can still win you an AFC championship. He can still give you winning season after winning season. But it's like, you know, you made that change in the middle of the season to go to Joe Brady as the OC, and now he's going to be the permanent OC. Can that change throughout the offseason and just take this offense to another level? I don't know. The defense always gets injured.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And that's got to suck, you know, as a Bills fan, to see your defense. You know, you have talent, and they just keep getting injured after injury after injury. But I believe Allen is still top 3, no doubt about it. Number 2, I will ride for my boy always, and I had him number 1 last year, but, you know, based on, you know, the season, and obviously there's still more to look at, you know, because they finished, you know, with a loss in that AFC championship game last year, and, you know, he comes in this season, gets injured, but the mentality of the man in Joe Burrow is still just elite, and his ability in everything, just being a game manager, being, you know, just a tough quarterback, just, you know, he just knows how to run a team well and guide them in the right way, even if they're not up to par on talent, right? You know, it's the difference maker, right? I think Josh Allen has more talent on his roster, but Joe Burrow is just a better complete quarterback and maybe a better leader than Josh Allen is.
Sure.
So, I mean, I have nothing to say. I love more about Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow, but I do have to put my respect and accept that number 1 until probably for a while and until further notice, it will be Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. I mean, he just gets the job done. It's the Brady moment, right? I am always better than you. My team may not feel it, but we will our power on you, right, in the right moments, and we just have to get there. It's plain and simple. You get there, and we can do the rest. He moves well in the run. He makes incredible throws. Obviously, the big thing to talk about this season was, man, what are these receivers doing out here? But he just gets the job done. He has a good mentality. We did talk about potential arrogance versus, you know, cockiness, you know, there's a back and forth, but he's just a clean, good quarterback, and he knows how to win when it matters and win in the big moments and keep himself composed, and he's not afraid of the moment, right? He just can overcome it. So he's number 1 for me.
That's a valid list right there. That's totally valid. And I guess without further ado, you know, I'm not going to say you stole some of my thunder, but you might have. We'll see. We'll see how it goes down.
My outsiders were, you know, obviously Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, questionable, and then I don't know why, but I guess I have to give respect somewhat to Lamar and Dak, but I just can't.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into it here.
I'm letting Evan cook on the rest of this league.
We're going to get into it here because this is a big list. This is
it is a big list. You got 3 rookies in here?
You got 3 rookies in here, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. And we're going to start with the undefined tier. Now, we're starting bottom up this year, and undefined is simply put, we just don't know. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately we're going to put Jaden Daniels and Drake May in there, but we're not going to put Caleb in there.
I know from last year.
Look, we know these guys could be special. They're going to go top 5 for sure in the NFL draft. We just don't know what they are yet. but I felt like I had to put them on the list because these are two guys that I think could be difference makers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to have their names on the list, right? It was more so they need to be on this list. Everyone else, though, except for Caleb, has some tape on them. And we kind of need to see a lot more from some guys, or we just kind of know enough about others. But one name I am going to put on the undefined that, or maybe a couple here. Maybe I'll put a couple more on here. We're going to go with Anthony Richardson. I think he is a superstar in the making, but when you only play like 2 games, that's just not enough sample size for me to put you on any of these other tiers here.
I respect that.
And while I do believe in his potential, just can't do it yet. The second one, and I'm going to give him some good grace here, is Bryce Young. I think he had a horrible year 1. He played in almost every game, and none of them looked very promising.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of turmoil in Carolina, a terrible O-line, a terrible receiving core, and not much of a run game either. You had a coaching change mid-season. You have an owner that is completely inept at running a football team in David Tepper. So there's a lot of issues in Carolina, and now they don't have a first-round pick this year. So it's not really going to get better for Bryce Young, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. He was the number 1 overall pick. I did love him at Alabama. The size is a concern, but I don't want to be too harsh on him just yet. It was year 1, and nothing went right.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe year 2 can be a little bit better for him, and we'll be able to see that potential kind of flare. All right, moving on. Disgrace to the game. Now we're going to cut a lot of meat off the bone on this one because there are a lot of quarterbacks that are disgraced to the game. And immediately, I think the biggest disgrace was Desmond Ridder. I think he is, bar none, the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't want anyone. I want to. It's okay.
Pause
I'm just saying
for a second.
I wouldn't want like if there was. You could list all the quarterbacks. I'd want him last.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything to do with him. And unfortunately for Desmond Ridder, I think his time is up. If he is playing another snap as a starting quarterback in the NFL next year, there's issues. There's problems. There's some major problems. All right, so moving forward with our disgrace to the game tier. What a tier. We got to go with this guy, Zach Wilson. I respect his swag. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, but that's about it. The talent is just not there. We saw it all season long. Just an absolute disgrace to the game. It's unfortunate to see. Moving on. Daniel Jones has now found himself in the disgrace of the game tier. He is no longer in the Daniel Jones tier. He is a disgrace of the game. When Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor upstage you with the same team, you're a disgrace of the game. And he's making $40 million a year to be a very below average quarterback. He is a disgrace to the game. There is no doubt about it.
Please.
Kenny Pickett, welcome to the disgrace of the game tier. This is another guy, a lot like Daniel Jones, without the price tag. That, Mason Rudolph it replaces you, and they look better. That's an issue. That's a problem. So again, Kenny Pickett, I don't really feel like anything needs to be said about him other than it's over for you. Same thing goes with Mac Jones. He is also a disgrace to the game. There's nothing really more that can be said. I think he is just not a guy that you want on your team, honestly. I just don't see it with Mac, and it is super unfortunate that he finds himself here because I was very hopeful for him, but unfortunately, it's just not in the cards. It's just not in the cards. And then last but not least, Jimmy G. Aiden O'Connell replaces you, but the team isn't really behind you. you're kind of just a disgrace to the game. It's just kind of who you are. And one more that I forgot to put on the undefined, Will Levis. He deserves to be on the undefined tier, only because we just didn't see enough.
Yeah, I saw some flash moments.
But I kind of forgot that Will Levis was on here, and maybe that's a problem. But he is undefined. I'll give him more of a chance as well. Okay, but that is it for undefined and disgrace the game. Is there anyone I'm missing? Is there anyone that you would put on these two tiers that I did not?
I think are you doing everyone that's
I'm
on
not doing
this?
everyone on this list, like the Taylor Heineke's and the Trey Lances of the world. I'm not doing.
Okay, I didn't know because I saw Hendon Hooker up there. And I
No,
was
Hendon
like,
Hooker will not be ranked.
Okay. Because I was like, you probably would want to put him there because he might never be defined. No, I think it's a pretty solid list because I just needed to make sure that there weren't certain guys that you were using, but I think I can tell all the guys that you probably will be using. So I'm not mad at that. I mean, it's unfortunate for certain guys. I'd say above all probably Mac because we kind of expected the rest. And Jimmy G, good for Vegas, right? He had a 3-year deal and no year was guaranteed until he played through it. So because of all his medical issues. So I don't know. Maybe he may be done. He may be gone permanently. So
yeah, he should be. Moving on here. Jury is out. Now, you might be thinking, what does this tier really mean? This tier is guys that I think we know enough about them now to the point where we can say they're serviceable enough, but we don't really trust them to get the job done and to really win us anything of significance. And I feel like I needed this tier because there are a couple of guys that belong on this tier, in my opinion. And I think you can't say that they're a disgrace to the game or that they're undefined, but they are at the point where you kind of know what you're getting, but they're just like a tier below the Daniel Jones tier.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one on this list is Sam Howell. I think the jury's out on Sam Howell. I think he is more of a backup quarterback in the NFL, but I think if you need him, kind of like a Gardner Minshew would fit this perfectly. He's not on the list, unfortunately, but Gardner Minshew would be a jury is out kind of guy. Someone that can come in and give you some good football for a period of time, but you're not really going to get anywhere with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that, unfortunately, is where Sam Howell in year one finds himself. I think he had a nice year, but at the same time, they won 4 games, and he wasn't very good. So
Jacoby Brissett came in and had those moments.
Exactly, right? So some guys like that. Another one on this list is Derek Carr. I think you kind of just know where you're at with Derek Carr at this point. I think he isn't a backup like Sam Howell is, but to me, Derek Carr is more of a bridge QB at this point. And he is below the Daniel Jones tier because I think the Daniel Jones tier improved over the course of the season, despite Daniel Jones getting worse. Another one, and this one might come as a shock to you. Russell Wilson. I think he is in this tier.
No.
I think he had a nice year, but now he's not going to be a Bronco, and it just doesn't feel like there's a ton of belief in him as a whole from the football community. So I just don't feel like he fits the Daniel Jones tier right now. I just don't. And unfortunately for him, I don't know where he plays next. I don't know what's out there. I know some team is going to bring him in, and he's probably going to start for them.
Right now, there's 3
I just
spots.
don't know really where he goes next. And if he does go to a place like Pittsburgh or maybe Vegas, what are you really getting?
It's tough because right now those two plus to me right now Atlanta are the only 3 spots I could see him going potentially.
And where are you going with Russ? I don't think you're going anywhere. So that's why I feel like the jury's out. We kind of just know at this point with Russ where we're at.
And especially with those teams, I mean Pittsburgh's so indifferent, but a team like the Raiders or the Falcons, who are one's way more younger and one's kind of building up. Do you want to put? Does Russ meant to be on those teams?
Yeah, I agree. And then I think, I have a decision to make here.
I love seeing Matt Ryan there. That's hilarious.
I'm not going to rank Tannehill.
Yeah, that's fair.
because if there was a tier for Tannehill, it would just be retire.
Yeah.
Hang it up.
Oh, hang it up tier. So him, Matt Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of these guys. But I think the last one we do is Geno Smith. I think
I can't disagree with that.
I think because you're going to see with the next tier the difference in talent, I believe, with the Daniel Jones and Jury's Out tier. The Daniel Jones tier is very similar to the Jury's Out. I don't know if you're ever going to get there, but I think you have the talent to maybe get there. But I don't think you're in the maybe tier either. I think you're kind of right in between, and I think Geno Smith finds himself outside of that circle. I think we saw some great moments from Geno Smith, but I don't think you're ever going to win a playoff game with him. I think you could get there, but you're never going to advance, and that's just kind of the jury's out. Like, we know we can expect from Geno Smith 9-10 wins max, and that's about it.
And now you're getting a defensive head coach again, so...
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll see what their decision is long term, but they're not in a position to draft a QB, and Geno Smith is not going to be bad enough to get you a top 5 pick. So, Seattle's got some decisions to make. Any disagreements? Anyone you think should be in this tier?
It's tough because I don't know the guys that you're not using entirely.
Well, a lot of these faces, it's kind of common sense.
Yeah,
like everyone that started.
Yeah, he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there. I don't know what you're going to do.
No,
Probably not
Sam,
him. Not Hooker.
Yeah.
Not.
Lance.
Is that Trask?
That's Trask.
Yeah, not Trask or
Don't worry
Lance.
about those guys.
And not Mills either, or Matt Ryan. I think you're pretty solid right now. I mean, I guess I'd have to see the Daniel Jones debate table because I don't know. You could debate on Wentz in the jury's out if you're using him. I don't know if you're using him or not.
No,
Are you
no,
not?
I'm
Okay, okay. Then I'm pretty good with I'd agree with the tier so far.
Okay. Moving on to the Daniel Jones tier, and the first name in the Daniel Jones tier is Tua. It is absolutely Tua. This is the embodiment of a guy that can get you to the postseason, and you go absolutely nowhere from there on out. Now, I think he could potentially win you some games. I do. I think there's something there with Tua, but you need everything to be right. And unfortunately, that's just not how the NFL works. So it's more likely than not that Tua will never fully reach, that magical moment he had. Right? I don't think he's going to replicate that. And then throw it against Georgia in the championship game. I don't think we're ever going to see a moment like that with Tua, where he's throwing a game winner to Waddle or Tyreek in the Super Bowl, or to go to the AFC Championship game. But
I think this is his ceiling.
I would agree. I think maybe is his ceiling. But right now he's firmly in the Daniel Jones tier. It's kind of like quarterback purgatory, if you will. Next up on this list, and I hate to do it, but I have to because it's not that I want to.
Let me see it.
But I have to do it, and it's Baker. I think he is firmly in the Daniel Jones tier. I think prior he was maybe in the jury's out or disgrace of the game tier, but he has worked himself into the Daniel Jones tier based on this past season. Now, I think he can work up to maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar or elite. I love Baker, but right now he's in the Daniel Jones tier. He got a playoff win. I think he had a very nice bounce back year, but I need to see it for another season, and I can't just give him maybe. And I'm definitely not going to give him superstar based off of one season. I got to see more.
Mm-hmm.
I
like that.
I shouldn't say off of one season, but just I need it with Baker because we've already seen it time and time again. We need a bit of more consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, you know who it is. It's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy. Now you're going to say, but Evan, they're in the Super Bowl.
No, you want me
they're winning games.
Yeah, my statement right off the bat, I would put Brock Purdy as maybe.
That's fine.
I wouldn't put him as a superstar. He's definitely not elite. I think superstar is his ceiling, and I think he'd be in maybe based on the season.
My thing is, San Francisco can win with a Daniel Jones kind of quarterback, and that because their team is so good, and they are loaded on every level of offense and defense. You don't need a superstar quarterback. You don't need an elite quarterback. You don't even need a maybe quarterback. You just need a Daniel Jones, a game-managing guy that isn't going to make mistakes. That's what Brock Purdy's doing right now.
Is he better? Who's the best of those three, in your opinion?
Right now, I think, I'm going to be honest, think Baker's the best of those three.
Interesting.
I look. I'm not a Purdy believer. I'd call myself a Purdy hater. And maybe I'm just a little raw after that.
You're probably also
a little fragile.
Well, you're
after
probably
last
also
week.
like
But still,
Purdy could be, if Purdy's on the other team, he's a Mac Jones right now, right?
yeah, easily. So I think when I'm going pound for pound, and I'm not discrediting the wins, I'm saying look at the games. Do you really think that Brock Purdy won the Niners any of these playoff games? The answer is no. He makes a couple of plays here and there, but newsflash, J.J. McCarthy made a couple plays here and there. He was not the reason Michigan won the national championship game. I'm sorry, that's just the truth.
No,
Over the course of the season, it wasn't J.J. So I think Brock and J.J., very similar on very good teams. They scheme them perfectly, and they're asked to make a couple of plays, literally a couple, like 2, maybe 3 most of plays per game, and they make those plays. So while they're in the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, but you have a Daniel Jones as your quarterback. It's just the facts. And then, oh man, I could really do something funny here. I could really do something funny. I'm not going to.
This guy.
I think I'm going to leave it here. I think I'm going to leave it with these 3.
Interesting. Very interesting.
No, I'm not going to. I got to add one more. Dak Prescott.
I was waiting for it, honestly.
Prescott.
I thought he'd be the first one up there.
No, he's going to be the last one. He had a fantastic season statistically, but when you lose to the Packers, that was my issue. Is I wanted to put him in maybe so bad out of respect because he had such a great season.
But you're being realistic.
But I'm being realistic here. I think the Cowboys have a Daniel Jones at quarterback, and the mistakes and the inability to overcome. This team goes as far as Dak goes, and unfortunately, it was a first-round playoff exit. He is firmly in the Daniel Jones tier. I just need a little bit more time to really think about it, but he is in the Daniel Jones tier. Any debates on that one? You're firmly on that.
No, I'm fine with it. I thought he was going to be the first one on there, honestly.
No, Tua more represents the Daniel Jones tier, in my opinion. I think he is the epitome of the Daniel Jones tier, and I think the rest are above Tua. Like, Tua is really Daniel Jones.
And you know how much I dislike Tua? I think his jury is out and floating into disgrace to the game.
Wow. Okay. So
that's how much
you're anti-Tua.
I don't believe in Tua at all.
Okay.
I've never believed in Tua.
Okay.
Dude has one crazy moment in college, and then everyone rides him forever. Right? What has he done?
That's fair. That's fair.
Win against bad teams. That's what he's done.
That's fair.
But I mean, respect to him for still being alive right now, though. After last season.
Yeah, I mean, he made it out. All right, the maybe tier. This is below superstar, obviously, but I think it's above Daniel Jones because I think the talent is better. I think the quarterback play is better.
Mm-hmm.
But similar to the Daniel Jones tier, I'm not sure if they're going to get over the hump, but I think they have a better chance of getting over the hump than the Daniel Jones tier does. Mm-hmm. And the first name on this list, a shocker, Jordan Love. I think beginning of the year, he might have been closer to jury's out. Now, I think he's firmly in the maybe tier. I'm not going to put him in superstar yet. I got to see a little bit more. And while a lot of people love to say it was year 1, it's really year 4. When you've had several years to sit down and really allow the game to come to you, study, learn, watch film. You're not a rookie. You're polished. You just haven't played yet. So I think in his first season as the starter, very promising. And I think Green Bay has their guy. But I say maybe because
it can easily fall.
It could easily go in the opposite direction. But I think he is a perfect spot for this maybe tier. And going forward, I think you have to be very, very happy with what you have in Jordan Love. Moving on. Justin Fields. I think we've seen flashes. You might say he's more of a Daniel Jones. But
it's a debate, right? I haven't seen enough in that moment.
He just hasn't been given the full opportunity. I think when in the games he played last year, I'm pretty sure the Bears had a winning record. And so when I look at that, I say, maybe they did have a winning record. Yeah. But I think it was at least close, and I think they would have had a winning record if he wasn't out for the 3 games. But they were 7-10. I think they had a very, very good season, considering that they were the worst team in the NFL last year.
He keeps getting put in
And
a bad
I think
situation.
he's getting better and better. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the QB, but I do believe in Justin Fields. I think I got a lot of respect for him over the past season, and I'm not the same guy I was back then. I think he is capable of getting places or going places in the NFL. I do. Next, Caleb Williams. Yes, he is already in the maybe tier. I think year one you could see very similar results as you did with CJ Stroud. I think he could easily come in and be the guy in the NFL. Is he going to do what Stroud did? Probably not. But could he? Absolutely. I hope not, because I would hate to see him go to the Bears and they win the NFC North. But he has that kind of talent. He has that kind of capability. I know you're down on him. It's inexplicable why you're down on him. He had a terrible offensive line. He lost talent on offense and really was not set up to succeed at all last year at USC, despite the fact he still balled out. He still had a great year. Even though it wasn't his Heisman year, it was still a fantastic season for him.
I don't like it. He's a child.
How is he a child? You know who else had issues about where they might be going was Eli Manning. Won 2 Super Bowls, and he has double the talent that Eli Manning does. All right, Caleb Williams is going to be special, and he has earned the right to decide where he wants to go.
It just doesn't work like that.
But honestly, though, when you are the guy, you have a little bit more power than other guys in the past. I mean, some players will accept it, kind of like Trevor Lawrence. He said, "All right, I'm going to Jacksonville." That's fine. But if he doesn't want to be a Bear, I don't hate him for it. And that's not because I'm a Lions fan. It's because you've earned that right. You are the guy. Everyone knows you're the guy. And if you don't want to play for a team, I can't blame you for it. Like, you should.
It's tough because how are you the guy? You haven't earned anything. You're not in the NFL. You have nothing of value in the NFL yet.
He's the guy.
We'll see.
He's the guy.
Him winning Rookie of the Year wouldn't even prove to me he's the guy. I'll be honest.
Well, I guarantee you they're going to the playoffs to Caleb year one.
Bears?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, moving on. I could have put Deshaun Watson in the Daniel Jones tier, but I'm going to put him in the maybe tier because
Fair.
I think with Deshaun, we haven't seen him be Deshaun in quite some time. So that makes me very skeptical of him getting back to that form. But this is a player that I believe has as much talent as some of the top guys in the NFL. We just haven't seen it in quite some time. And he's still young enough and he's still athletic enough to get back to that. But I can't just put him in the Daniel Jones tier because I've seen Deshaun make plays. I've seen him win games. I've seen him have big moments. And I believe fully in what he can do. But this is kind of a make or break it year for me. Like, I need to see it this upcoming year. He's got to be healthy. He's got to be able to play a full 17 games. Because I think the Browns can go places if he's there and if he's the guy. But we just haven't seen it yet at all. And it's very disappointing if you're a Browns fan. Very disappointing. I mean, you've been waiting for this guy for 2 years now, and it just hasn't happened yet. But I do not believe he is a Daniel Jones kind of quarterback. But he's definitely not in that upper echelon either.
Yeah, an early Deshaun was just something else.
It was something special. It was unreal. Moving on, Trevor Lawrence is also in this maybe tier. Really down year for him. We were expecting an MVP caliber season, and we did not get that. We did not get that at all. And while I think it's there, I got to see it, man. And I just haven't seen it yet. So he is not a superstar quarterback to me. I just don't. Right now, I'm not buying in. I need to see it. And it's a lot like Deshaun. We know what the potential could be. But
the potential can be elite, but it's not there
right
now.
So, I mean, I know you were thinking of him as top 5 guy.
But I put him outside.
I don't think he's close.
I couldn't because just of the down year, and I don't know what's next. And I like Trevor Lawrence.
I don't think he's close. Moving on, Kyler Murray, another guy in this maybe tier. I love Kyler Murray, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be jaded or blinded by, not jaded. I'm not going to be blinded by my love for him. he is a maybe quarterback. He's not Daniel Jones, but coming off the injury and what the team is going to be going forward, I can't put him in the superstar tier. He is in the maybe. He's in the maybe tier right now because there is something about Kyler that I think could get him into the next tier. He has the talent for sure, but I think we need to see that maturity, and I think he's getting there. So I really believe in him going forward. I just want to see it on the field, see it turn to wins, and hopefully with a more talented team next year, this Cardinals team can find themselves back in the postseason. So I think he's firmly in the maybe. Out of all these quarterbacks, he is my most likely to move up immediately. Caleb as well, but I think Kyler, just considering the fact that it's not his first year, he's not going to be learning NFL defenses. He's not going to be learning an NFL offense. He's had a year kind of now within this system and with the organizational belief to be the guy. I think he is the most likely to bump himself into the next tier. Moving on here, I think I got one more quarterback in this tier, and I'm only putting him here because I feel like I have to. It's Kirk Cousins.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be him.
I don't think he is. You know, I actually have one more quarterback after this.
Okay.
But I think with Kirk Cousins, you have a guy that is a lot like, in my opinion, a lot like Dak Prescott. But I just, like, if I had to pick Dak or Kirk for one game, I think I'm taking Kirk right now. And I didn't think I'd be saying that last year, but I think right now I'm taking Kirk to win that game. And I think that's the difference with Kirk Cousins for me right now is I do believe in him a little bit more than I used to. And I think he can get there. But we have yet to see it.
Where will he be next year, too?
That's the thing, is if he's on a different team, a different roster, a different with a different coach, too, obviously that is going to make the world a difference. But then my last quarterback in this tier, and I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, but I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers in this tier. I just don't. I mean, the last season with Green Bay was not a very good season for him statistically. They missed out in the postseason. They lost to the Lions. You follow that up with an Achilles injury. Right now,
40.
you're 40. Right now, I'm just not sure if he's a superstar quarterback. I think maybe he could get there with the Jets, but I'm not convinced he's in this upper echelon right now. And I think it's a fair spot for him. I'm not discounting him at all from getting back, but I got to see it first, man. I mean, you're 40 years old, you tore your Achilles, and the last season we saw you play, you weren't very good. So I got to see it. I don't know your thoughts on that. Is this a fair tier?
So you're more like he was, the Green Bay season dropped him from elite to superstar, and then just now how he's going with the injury and the age and everything and not playing it, it's a fair statement to bring him down to maybe. That he can be back to superstar but not elite anymore.
I think so.
I can't disagree. I think he's superstar maybe, plain and simple. I don't think he's Daniel Jones.
No.
But yeah, he's not elite anymore. No. But he's definitely he still has superstar talent. But I guess, being fair, respectfully based on the season, maybe he's fine. I don't have any problems with it.
Okay, moving on. We're now in the superstar tier. Superstar, this tier, let me define it for you. It is guys that I absolutely believe you can win a Super Bowl with. They just don't have as much talent as the elite tier, and then obviously the founder. So the superstar tier. This is what we're going to start off with a bang here. Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's elite. I don't. I think you saw it in that AFC title game. I think you have a superstar quarterback. I think a guy that you can absolutely get there in the postseason with. But I was the least bit shocked. I was one of the last people that expected Baltimore to get to the Super Bowl. And it's because of Lamar. I just don't believe in him when push comes to shove. However, it's proven that they can get there. So I can't discredit that. But I personally don't believe he is one of those elite guys. Now, can they win the Super Bowl with Lamar? Yeah, I think they could. But
it's the right situation.
Am I going to believe that they will? No. But he's a superstar quarterback. He's going to win the MVP. I can't knock him, and I don't think he's a maybe. So he's in the superstar. I think a lot of people would have him as elite, maybe a top 3 guy. I simply don't. Next up,
I was like, whoa,
Matt Stafford.
what a pause on Carson Wentz.
No, not Carson. Matt Stafford. A team that, coming off a horrible season, less than talented, but he found a way to make a 5th-round pick in Puka Nacua a superstar. Cooper Kupp, honestly, is the wide receiver 2 now. Kyren Williams. I mean, he was dealing with a lot of guys that, they're not these, high-profile guys, but able to win games, able to make plays happen, and statistically, he was phenomenal. Played outstanding in the wild card game against the Lions, making elite throw after elite throw. He is a superstar quarterback. Obviously, he's got the Super Bowl already. The Rams could get back there, I think, with the right talent, but they are one of the younger teams in the NFL. They have a lot of inexperienced guys. They've been without a first-round pick for a long time now. They're actually going to have theirs this year. So very interesting to see how the Rams move forward. I know Stafford has taken his hits. He's taken his blows. Not sure when that retirement, press conference is coming, but I feel like it could come soon. And he's got a couple more years in him, though. And I think right now, as it stands, he is still a superstar quarterback. Disagree?
No,
Or agree?
I agree.
All right, next up, Jalen Hurts. Not elite to me. Bad season, in my opinion. All of his rushing touchdowns were essentially the tush push, so you can throw those out of the door. I think he was injured. I do not believe he was really fully healthy, and there was something there with the switch up in OC. Shane Steichen did a great job with A-Rich in those first couple of games, and then did an even better job, I think, with Gardner Minshew, adjusting on the fly. But there was something off about Hurts this year, and I just cannot put him in the elite tier when I don't really believe he is elite, and when the performance doesn't really match, everything he says, in his post-game press conferences. Sometimes there's just something a little off about Hurts, so I don't have him in the elite tier. But he is firmly in the superstar tier. It would take a lot for me to drop him down to maybe. He has gone to a Super Bowl. Obviously, he's put up MVP caliber numbers, but I just can't put him in the elite tier. I can't do it.
Yeah, interesting. You got 6 guys left on my vision, and I'm looking at it like, but I know how it's gonna work out. So, at a certain point,
Yeah. All right, number 4 on the elite tier is Justin Herbert.
Superstar tier.
In the superstar tier. Yep, he is a superstar. Hasn't got a playoff win. He's feeling a lot like Lion Stafford to me. But with Harbaugh, I think there is real potential for him to be a top 3 guy in the NFL, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think he could get there. I love Herbert. I think he's outstanding. But I need to see it. He's got all the arm talent. I think he's got the frame. I think he's got just the IQ as well. But it's got to turn to playoff wins. We got to see it with Herbert. And they have to be able to take down the Chiefs, too. Like, he cannot just continue to be second place. He's got to eventually get over the hump. So
Him and Josh Allen.
So I think he's firmly in the superstar tier. One of my favorites in the super tier. Maybe my favorite QB in this tier. Next up, though, Jared Goff. I think he is as good as these guys. I do. I think he has proven it for 2 seasons now that he is one of these guys. And I think he does need the right system. He is a little bit more of the Kirk Cousins type. But I think when push comes to shove, he is absolutely with these guys. And there is not a quarterback below him right now that I think I would want more than Jared Goff. I think he is absolutely a superstar quarterback. Not elite, but absolutely in this tier.
I get it.
And I think that's really it for me on this tier. Any disagreements? Anyone I should put here or feel like you don't belong here?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, you got 4 guys left, it seems, after this. No, I agree. I mean, I know, I know there's that debate, right? You can look at, like, Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford, like, the age thing, but Stafford's maintaining himself. He's not injured, so he's playing well. I agree that Lamar and Jalen Hurts are kind of on that similar vibe. They're just very like they're mobile quarterbacks, but are they enough to be pure elite quarterbacks? Right. That's good. I know. And Herbert is he's hanging off the edge, right? His hand is kind of hanging on to elite, but he is in superstar. And I agree. Jared Goff is a superstar. He's proven it finally. I don't think he will be elite, but I think
if he wins the Super Bowl, I think
you could put him in the elite.
I think you could put him in the elite, but
he's maintaining himself in a superstar, and I think he can lock himself in there. It'll probably be a while. Unless he has a really down year, he goes to maybe. But I think he'll maintain himself as a superstar until he either has a bad season or Super Bowl champion.
I agree. All right, elite tier. These are,
three guys.
I feel like you just know who they are.
I do. 1, 2,
They
3.
are franchise-altering quarterbacks. These are guys that, no matter what, you build around them. They are the core of the apple. They are the centerpiece. They control everything. And really, everything just revolves around them. First one, Josh Allen. I think this past season, despite the loss, was maybe the most impressive season he's had as a quarterback. Not really getting much from his OC. Steph Diggs kind of goes off the face of the earth. A ton of adversity early on, but they find a way to rally 6 in a row, win the AFC East, and put themselves in a position, honestly, to knock off the Chiefs. I'm shocked that they didn't still. I think they absolutely should have won that game. They completely lost that game, and it wasn't on Josh Allen. But while I was a little bit down on him last year, I think this year only made me respect him and appreciate him. He is an elite quarterback, and in my opinion, the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Okay. Is it more due so to mobility?
It's just everything about Josh Allen. I know you get the mistakes, but I don't really care about the mistakes because he's making so many more plays than any other quarterback really makes.
Continue.
Okay.
I have a thought to share.
Next up is Joe Burrow. He is an elite quarterback, obviously the Super Bowl appearance, and the Bengals are just not the same team without him. He came into the season with a calf injury, gutted it out. They had a bit of a slow start, but to me, Joe Burrow is absolutely one of those guys that you would want on your team, and you have full faith that he's going to get back to the Super Bowl. I think he is absolutely one of those guys, and he does have a bit of aura to him. We've talked about it. I think his mentality, his mental, his IQ, it's all up. It is so impressive to see. I think he's absolutely one of the elite guys, and it's hard for me to, despite the struggle, despite the injury history, it's hard for me to say otherwise. I think he's absolutely one of these guys.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think my statement to you is, why is Josh Allen number 2 when Burrow's gotten over the hump?
I think, while it's true that he has, I think Joe Burrow has and it's not his fault, but I think he has a better situation. I think things maybe are a little bit easier for him. And that's not a knock on Burrow. But I think when Josh Allen almost has nothing to work with, and he's still making plays, and he's still putting his team in a position to win games, and it's not really on him that they're losing these games, I think that's where I see Josh Allen's talent and his ability take over. We don't really recognize Josh Allen had the game won against Kansas City a few years ago in the AFC.
I remember that was devastating to watch.
And people don't realize that it wasn't on Josh Allen. I feel like the only thing that's really preventing him is Mahomes, and it's never really Allen in control of the wheel, right? I mean, the last game they played, Steph Diggs drops a it's okay, you probably touchdown on a beautiful 65-yard throw on the dot, and he just lets it go through his hands. If one of his guys just stepped up and made a play for him, he'd be in the Super Bowl once, maybe twice now. And we're just so close with Josh Allen. I feel like the talent is going to be there, and it's going to overcome eventually. Joe Burrow, I think he's had it a little bit easy for him at times. I think, while he did take over, one of the worst teams in the NFL, one of the worst organizations, he
One
has
of the
lifted
toughest
them up.
divisions.
In a tough division, sure, but the AFC East is tough too. I think when you have a T. Higgins, you have a Jamar Chase, and it's not a knock on him, and you have a Joe Mixon, things are a little bit easier for you. Josh Allen doesn't have anyone making plays for him. He is making everything happen on his own.
So that means Diggs sucks, Gabe Davis sucks.
Honestly, yes, Diggs was a terrible receiver in the second half of the year. He was not good.
So I'm just saying, I'm just making that statement. So.
No, he was not good. And Gabe Davis is a nobody half the time. I'm just saying.
I guess we'll see. The Bills might try to go get T.
I would love that. Then I wouldn't be able to say the same things I'm saying now. All right, and then the last one is Mr. Stroud. I was shocked you had him at 4, not because you had him at 4. I thought I'd be the only one to put him at 4. I do believe he's one of the elite guys in the NFL. When you do what you did as a rookie, and with every obstacle thrown his way, losing Tank Dell, losing Nico Collins for a few weeks, thinking NFL defenses are going to figure you out, and you just find a way to overcome.
He got hurt and had to come back.
Everything that Stroud did last year, he upstaged. Everything that we thought early on, okay, well, he's not going to do this. He did that, and then he's not going to do that. Well, he did that. He just kept improving. He is one of the elite guys. It is without a doubt. He is a top 5 quarterback. He's number 4 right now for me.
And he had the ability to beat the Ravens. The Ravens are just a more put together team. It's a new generation for the Texans, and there's
a bit
just
more
a lot,
experience with Baltimore.
Yeah,
they had some veterans, and you knew eventually that it was the train was gonna come off the tracks a little bit, and it did in that Baltimore game.
But for
them
them
to put points on the board, really.
For them to get there where they did,
exactly. For them to get there, I mean, they were projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they win the AFC South. They win a playoff game, right? This was a remarkable season for C.J. Stroud, and already as a rookie, you are seeing him as one of the elite guys. It's, I think, without a doubt. I don't really have anything left to say. I think he's just one of those guys. And then number 1, obviously, the founder, it's Mahomes. I mean, you can cancel out everyone else on this list here. They're obviously not going to be in this spot.
Yeah.
Mahomes, he is without a doubt the best quarterback in the NFL. And until somebody knocks him off the pedestal, he's going to remain there, and he's going to be that guy. I think when it comes to talent, I think the guys in the elite tier possess similar talent to Mahomes, but there is something about Mahomes that just puts him over the top, and it's very Brady-esque, and you're seeing it time and time again, year after year, his ability to just persevere. That's all it is, really, and it's one of those rare traits that not a lot of guys have, and it's something that at the NFL level, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow have yet to really show. I mean, Josh Allen, obviously, a lot more than Joe Burrow, but nobody perseveres and rises above the rest like Mahomes does, and that's where the difference is. The talent, I think, is similar with these elite guys, but there's just something else that they don't have. At least they haven't shown it yet. So I think that's why Mahomes, he has his own tier. He is at the top of the mountain. And
Mahomes Mountain. I
think this is a perfect list. I don't think there's anything wrong with this list, obviously because I made it. I think if I had one qualm, it would maybe be Brock Purdy. I do feel a little dirty putting him in the Daniel Jones tier. But I think I have to, though. I don't think he's as good as any of these guys.
If he wins a Super Bowl, does he become maybe? Or does he become superstar? Depends on how he plays.
I don't know what it is, man. I don't think he's better than any of these guys in the maybe tier. And I don't think he's on the same level as them. I just don't.
Yeah, you could argue Baker is better than him too. Statistically, Dak was.
I mean, is San Fran not getting into the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott as a QB? Are they not? Are they not a Super Bowl team with Dak Prescott?
No, they are. Probably.
How about with Tua?
Possibly.
Baker?
Probably. I think they're more of a shot with Baker than they are with Tua, to be honest.
How about Geno Smith, even? I mean,
Maybe.
like, that's what I'm saying.
Russ, maybe. Derek Carr, probably not. Sam Howell, probably not.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Their playoff teams probably with all those guys, though.
Right? Like, that's my issue with Brock Purdy, is...
Even Jimmy G got them to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Like, are we really going to...
I think Mac Jones, too. Like, these 4 guys right here are probably the only guys that I think couldn't get them to the playoffs.
Are we really going to sit here and say Jimmy G was ever in the same, like, caliber of quarterback as a Kirk Cousins, as a Trevor Lawrence?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers? I mean, maybe Justin Fields, maybe it's a little too early for him to be on this tier, but I really believe in his talent, and I do think there's a lot of good things about Justin Fields that we just haven't seen yet. Maybe he is more of a Daniel Jones type, but I'm sorry, man. I can't put Brock Purdy like higher, but I do feel like it's a little dirty because he's in the Super Bowl. You know, it's like, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's so tough. Ranking quarterbacks is not easy, but I do feel like this is like pound for pound perfect.
But if Baker led them to the Super Bowl, would you put him at maybe?
Baker?
Like if he signed there? Depend how the season go.
Well, you know, Baker's stats are impressive, but Brock's stats are nice too. I do feel like they're both in the Daniel Jones tier because that's who they are. Like, I guess if I'm looking at it, Baker in the Super Bowl right now as opposed to Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl, I think I would have Baker back in this tier. I do.
They're revealing
because
them
I think we've seen it now with the Niners that they don't need an elite quarterback. They don't need one of these guys.
They need a game manager.
They just need someone that can get the job done and
throw a good ball and be able to move decently.
Yeah, like the Bucks needed Baker to be more than a game manager, and he was, but at the same time, he still finds himself in the Daniel Jones tier. That's just how it works.
I can see that.
But yeah, I do feel like maybe Caleb and Justin Fields are a bit iffy in the maybe spot, but I do, like I said, I do believe in them fully. I think the one that is the best out of this tier right now, you gotta give it to Jordan Love, man.
Yeah, based on the season.
I gotta give it to Jordan Love.
Based on the season, even though 4 of them got injured.
Yeah.
And Lawrence and Fields are just and one's not there yet.
Watson got hurt. Lawrence got hurt for sure.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So basically, you're saying
like
Love versus Fields. Love versus Fields. And one just played better, right?
Well, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was healthy for a good portion of the season.
Green Bay still owns Chicago.
But yeah, I do feel like these two guys right here. Well, I should say these two guys right here may be iffy, but I do feel like I believe in these guys a lot going forward. But I do think this is a great list. I think it kind of describes them perfectly. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone down here that you would bump up or put in a different spot, but I think like it's hard to debate this. You know, I think there's some debates with these couple of guys, and maybe depending on how you feel about, you know, Lamar or Hurts or Herbert even. But I do think this is pretty accurate of where we're at in the NFL right now and moving forward.
That's true. I'm really excited to see the Undefined play next year.
Yeah, I think this is like the most exciting tier. Because there are so many question marks.
Yeah, because we're gonna see how like Young and Levis overcome probably another tough like season. That's probably gonna be for both teams. You know, Rich has the sky's the limit, and then Jaden Daniels and May. You know, where they land. More than likely, it's potentially, you know, New England, Washington.
Yeah.
For either of them, you know, we're not for sure, but more than likely. Do you think one of them fits better in one spot? between those two, like Washington and New England? Like all things aside.
I don't really know because they're both having coaching, makeovers.
That's true.
And I don't know what the philosophy is going to be going forward. We don't even know the OC yet in New England and in Washington. So it's really hard for me to say, okay, which one fits. Obviously, Drake May is a bit more of a traditional quarterback with some mobility. Jane Daniels, he's got the big arm. He's tremendous mobility. And he's a little bit more of maybe the Justin Fields type, where it's going to take a bit of a system. It's going to take, some talent offensively, and it's going to take some time for him to really settle in. So it's going to be tough for me to see which spot looks the best right now, which one fits better, just based on the fact that we don't even know what the coaching staff is going to look like, the talent around it either. I think right now the better situation is Washington. They have better offensive talent, good running game, good receivers. So whichever quarterback does go there is going to be in a much better situation to succeed early on. But obviously with history and the organizational success, I think you'd rather go to New England if you're like hoping that your career is going to turn out positively.
All I can think about is with these guys is UNC Part 2 coming in.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Or like Dwayne Haskins, but way better. Not the same, but
no,
like that.
Dwayne was not. They're not even close to the same caliber.
R.I.P.
I mean, Dwayne was not able to move really outside the pocket. Wasn't very athletic, and didn't have the biggest arm either. Was accurate, but he did not have a big arm.
And then you got May's a way better version of Mac Jones, and then Daniels would be like another a better shot with Part 2 of Cam Newton.
I don't.
Maybe more mobile. I'm comparing to past.
I don't know.
What
It's
it would
tough,
be
though,
connections to.
Jane Daniels is not as big as Newton though. Like,
but he's faster.
He's faster, but he's not. He doesn't have the same physical prowess.
Mm.
Like I do feel like he is more of the. Like I do feel like he is more of like a Justin Fields, and I think Drake May, very similar to a Sean Watson, honestly, like a very very similar. Even a Jordan Love, I think Drake May kind of fits that mold. Really good arm, definitely can move. Doesn't have to rely on his feet though. I think he fits kind of a Deshaun Watson or Jordan Love. Really, I mean Deshaun more mobile than Drake May, but I think Drake May definitely has like that Jordan Love kind of prototype, with maybe a bit more potential. But Jane Daniels, yeah. Like, to me, he's kind of like a Fields 2.0, maybe with a bigger arm.
We got, if I did it, I'd be like, jury's out, retire, jury's out, undefined, retire, jury's out,
Matt
retire.
Ryan is retired.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was officially. Probably jury's out or disgrace to the game. Probably jury's, that's so tough.
Unfortunate for Trey Lance.
And then Wentz to me is jury's out, but still ability, but otherwise probably potential retire. Mixed. Good list.
Yeah, but that's it. The guru's out.
The guru's out for year 2.
Let us know what you think. Let me know what you think. I mean, I do feel like some people are going to take exception to some of these picks, but I don't see where I'm wrong.
We'll see how these guys fare next season. Right now we're going to have the founder versus Daniel Jones in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Could have been the founder versus superstar, but I don't know. Or 2 superstars.
Yeah, that's what I was. I mean, obviously, I was hoping for. I wanted Chiefs Lions.
I think a lot of people were hoping for
I think a lot of people
Lions.
wanted Lions Chiefs. I do think that's what people wanted.
People wanted either Lions. I feel like most people just wanted Lions versus either or.
Or Lions Ravens, maybe.
Yeah. I would have been a little more concerned. Would you have been more concerned playing the Chiefs or the Ravens? Tough because you're thinking Ravens.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, you're thinking Ravens, but you're like just because of the championship vibes of the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
The big moment.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't believe in Lamar as much as others do. But the Ravens gave it to us early in the year. And we did beat the Chiefs on the road. I know no Kelsey, no Chris Jones, but, there is that
First game
There is
versus
that
last
first game.
game.
Mentality, like we've already beat them once, we can beat them again. But they do have Mahomes. They got Andy Reid. I mean, they are formidable as they've ever been. So,
It's true.
but no, I think that's it. It's fun not having to talk about games
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, even though we did, but not like upcoming games. We have a bit of time before we have the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if I'm watching it yet. I have yet to make a decision right now. I'm not going to watch it, but that's more me being angry. I'll probably have a different answer next time we speak, but
It's unfortunate.
whatever. Everything is pain.
Everything is pain, just like that. Boom. Evan's gone. Well, good list. Good season. They got one more left. Unfortunately, we will have to talk about it next week. But
Yes.
but let us know your opinions on the list. I think it's pretty good. Obviously, you probably could change one or two things depending on how you're feeling, but I'd say overall it's a good breakdown of everything. I guess it depends on how biased you are toward other certain guys. So that's on you. That's on you. If you think you're a Denver fan and you think Russ is still elite or superstar material, I don't know what you're thinking, but
Maybe you are one of those guys.
I
Although everyone in Denver probably wanted him gone.
don't know. My cousin became a fan of him. He moved from here to Chicago. Had to be a partial Bears fan, and now they're in Denver. So his girlfriend really got into football this year. For whatever I guess she's a big Dolphins fan now.
Oh, it's tragic.
So I don't know. Yeah, she's Dolphins and Broncos. So I'm
That's
like
tragic.
tough out there.
Jeez.
You're like, why don't you guys go back to your roots? Because they're both from here.
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably were. Rooting for him. Anyways, enjoy. Don't enjoy the Pro Bowl. The season. Next season starts now. Next season
off season's already started.
Off season's already here. Thankfully, we do have the crew returning. The Lions will have everyone returning.
Yes.
So it's time to feast, Mr. Holmes, in this off season. It's time to do your diligence and load up what you got.
I agree.
And it's time to run.
I agree.
No fear, all gain. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.